Why hello, I'm Curtis Stone and this is your next GMC trade secret. It's all about pies. Now if you've never made a pie before, watch this. And if you have made a pie before, watch this, because this is going to change your world in making pies. It's the best pie dough and it's really simple to make. You take your flour and you just dump it into the food processor. You throw that in there, you take your shortening, okay, and you pop that in as well, and your butter. Now, of course, if you wanted to use all butter, you could do. It's going to have a beautiful flavour, maybe even better than the shortening. However, it won't be quite as flaky, so the shortening's there for its flakiness. Break up your butter as well, and then take your food processor lid and turn it on. Now, you just let it run until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. What you need to do is get your salt in there as well. So about a teaspoon of salt. Be quite generous with it. So I'm going to put a couple of big pinches of salt and hit it. Alright, so when I said it should resemble breadcrumbs, look at that. Perfect. Okay, that's just how you want it. Next, you take your water, make sure the water's nice and cold, and make sure the butter and the shortening's also cold, because that's going to allow it to go to the right consistency for you. It should turn into a ball. So don't pour all the water. That's looking pretty good. Just have a look at that, and that's looking pretty good to me. Great. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of flour onto my work surface, like so, and then just basically scoop all of that. I'm just going to kind of work it into a disc. You don't want to knead it, you don't want to overwork it, because as soon as you start doing that, what's going to happen is you exercise the gluten in the flour, which means your dough is going to go kind of tough, and you don't want that. Okay, so just a little bit of flour, and then you just sort of work it into that disc, just like that. And then it's ready to use, almost. There's one important step that still needs to happen. Take some cling film. Just wrap it up in that cling film. We're going to pop it into the fridge and just let it rest, okay? Because it's very tired from all the exercise it's done. And look at that. 20 minutes goes by really quickly in my kitchen. I did one just before and it comes out. See how when the butter and the shortening's had a bit of time to set back up? See how firm that is? What you do next is you get yourself a little bit of flour, and you're just going to lightly dust that flour over the bottom of your work surface. A little bit of flour on the top. Okay, now get yourself a roll-in pin. Now it's important just to lightly dust your roll-in pin as well. Okay. Next, what we do is we just roll it out. Now I only ever try and roll in one way. I never do this because you get much better at that movement of just going straight up and down. Then you turn your dough. Same thing. So you want to keep it in a nice circle. Okay, so we don't want it to be too thin. So I think we're looking pretty good right about where we are now. Pick up your tray again. Make sure that you've got plenty of room, because you can always trim it up. That's looking good. So the next thing that I like to do is just brush off the excess flour off your hands, and then also brush it off your pastry. You don't want too much excess flour on your pastry. Okay, now a lot of people say, I know how to do this, I know how to get it to this point, but how do I get it into my pie tin? Let me show you. You take your pie dish, and then you pick up your rolling pin, and you just roll it back over like that. Bring your pie dish in, and then you just pick that up, and then you unroll it. See that? Then you can just push it down, so it's really simple. Turn it around. So what I do is I just tear it literally like this, and you'll see you get this really nice rustic shape to the pastry when it comes out, and there's a little bit of overhang, and I kind of like that. If you want it to look really straight and formal, you can go around later and trim it up with a knife, but the pastry will shrink ever so slightly, so it's always good for me just to leave a little bit of overhang. So there you go, you're all ready to make yourself a pie. I'm Curtis Stone, and that's my GMC trade secret.